gentlemen, welcome to my 170,000 mile review video on my 2015 Dodge Charger Scat Pack. So we have lots to talk about. I actually was supposed to do a 150,000 mile review video, but YouTube is not a full-time job. It's just something I do for fun. And here I am, so much time has gone by that I am basically on 170,000 miles. So there's that. You know, I really want to focus on this video, and we're going to dive into the reliability. I think that's going to be an important aspect of what I'm trying to show you guys, how reliable the car is or has not been. And that's going to get into a lot of talk about how reliable this car is versus the maintenance. I think everyone has a different version or definition of reliability. You know, we're going to dive into all that. We're going to dive into how this is a performance vehicle and how, you know, if you're used to what I would call an A to B vehicle, something like a normal Honda Civic, Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, even if it was Ford Fusion, something that's a little bit more A to B. So the great thing about the world we live in with YouTube and digital media in general is there's just so many ways to consume media to see how products are holding up. I mean, back in the day you had magazines and they're great, Motor Trend, Car and Driver, all fantastic sources of ways to try to see how reliable something is or, you know, how it tests is. But in my opinion, there's nothing like what YouTube can provide the consumer, because I am the consumer and I'm reporting back to the consumer, you, how I feel my car is being held up or how it's holding up. I mean, even comparison to something like a long-term review by Motor Trend, I have a car for a year. It's not the same. I'm an actual owner. It was 2015. I got it brand new. I'm the only one that's owning it. I'm the only one that knows how I've driven it. I know everything about the car, and it really is a true test to see how these things really hold up. Which leads me to the next point, which is a very important point, to kind of discuss who I am as a driver and what it's like, you know, because it's important to know the type of driver that is driving the car, right? Is it someone that takes care of the car? How do they drive the car? And all that good stuff. So diving into the type of person that I am, the type of owner that I am, I do think I am your standard car enthusiast, someone that has driven, you know, many performance vehicles, and I think I am a dead hit on what Dodge is trying to sell or who they're trying to go after. You know, I have done road trips on this car, drag racing, you know, Acco Raceway. I've had it. I've ran a 12.4 flat at 113, bone stock car. I daily this thing, you know, a lot of spirited driving. I mean, there's a lot of things that I do. I think I am your standard, you know, person that will own this. So, but the important thing I want to discuss and why I think it's such an important video and why I'm so happy to make this video for you guys is that I maintain the car. So you want to know, right, when you're shopping for a vehicle, how is it maintained? And we'll get into that, and we'll get into reliability, because you'll have, you know, I've seen plenty of videos and I've done videos on this, right, where Scott Kimmer, if I'm pronouncing his name right, will go ahead and get a customer's car. It's a used car. It's got 1 billion owners, you know, a ton of miles just like this, but it's not even maintained. I mean, he's doing tune-ups and spark plugs, misfire, this and that, and then he just basically blames Dodge, and it's just not fair to the Dodge brand, because you're driving a performance car and you have to take care of it. You know, I look at it kind of the way I would look at an athlete, right? I mean, athletes are pretty healthy people. They're very strong, but at the end of the day, depending on, you know, what type of athlete they are, right? If it's boxing, if it's football, like, they're beating up their bodies. And these performance cars, it's the same thing. We're very harsh on these cars. We drive them the way you want to drive what I would call an A to B car. You know, there's nothing usually exciting about driving, you know, your standard vehicle. They're great to get to A, to get to B, because A, they're more fuel efficient and they're way cheaper to maintain. I think that's important if you're a consumer looking into something like your first muscle car, that you need to understand that if you're coming from even a Ford Fusion or even another Dodge product that's more of an A to B product, you know, it's a lot different than what a performance vehicle is. So at 170,000 miles, right, you know, how's this motor doing? How's the trans doing? You know, just have all its ponies. I mean, well, let's find out. Shifts are still good. Power's still good. I do want to take it to the track. It's been a while to really see what it traps, because that will kind of give you an idea of where the power is. I mean, on a nice, very cold day, as I mentioned, I've trapped 113 in this. So that will kind of indicate really, you know, if it's really making all the ponies or not. But as you can see there, pulls really well. I'll do another little acceleration test for you guys. So let's dive into what I want to say, or what I would say is the meat and potatoes of this video, because, you know, I think what most people watching this want to know is, hey, is this thing reliable? You know, Dodge has, a lot of American cars have that stereotype of not being reliable. I mean, I'm the first to admit that, and this is my first Dodge product, and I'm happy to report that it's been a very reliable car. With that being said, I do have what's called the Max Care warranty, okay? And with this warranty, a lot of things are covered. So a lot of viewers might consider that cheating. I don't. I think that's just a smart move on my part. And it's also fair from a review standpoint to say, hey, this is how the car holds up when it's taken care of. Because the issue with the performance cars with a lot of these people is they just don't take care of the car. With that being said, how often should a car be in the shop? How much maintenance should you do? I mean, that does kind of come into the consumer, what they feel as though you should be doing, or how much it should be in the shop. So to give you a quick rundown on what I've had to do to this vehicle since ownership, I've gone through, I'm pretty sure, 2 rear brake calipers. They got hung up, that's the correct terminology. More recently, my window stopped working, so I want to say it's my window actuator. And then very recently, if you watched my Jeep video, I did a review video on the Jeep. That went ahead, and that was because I had a wheel bearing went bad, and so that's my second wheel bearing I had to replace. I've had all 4 shocks replaced. All this, by the way, is under this particular warranty that I'm referring to. I've had my drive shaft replaced. I've had, I want to say it was sway bar end links replaced. I've had quite a few things replaced and under this warranty, but it is me maintaining the car. On top of that, I have done oil changes. I've done a few brake jobs, you know, rotors and pads and tires, and that is more standard. Now, if you have a vehicle that, if you're coming from, right, a Corolla, I think is a phenomenal example of a car that would have very little maintenance. So, you know, compared to this, it's going to be expensive to maintain. Just changing the brakes. These are Brembo brakes, right? So you're going to have 14-inch rotors you're replacing. You're going to have Brembo brake pads you're going to have to replace, which is going to be a lot more than a standard, once again, A to B car. So that is where I think a lot of people get confused as they get in a car, especially get a used one where, you know, it gets kind of expensive to maintain these things, at least when you're driving as much as I am, and then people just, well, they don't do it. And then people will be on the way, you know, keyboard wars be on the Facebook page and say how shitty these cars are. But no, you gotta maintain them, that's anything. So if there have been any issues with the car, right, that really couldn't get addressed, or at least Dodge wouldn't want to cover it, and there is one in particular, I made a whole video on it, and it is actually when you go to downshift this car with the shifters, so for some odd reason you'll be upshifting or reverse downshifting, and it will do the opposite. So I'll go to upshift and it will downshift. Dodge actually did acknowledge this as a problem, but then in their notice stated that it was part of normal operating procedures, or whatever word they use, which blows my mind personally. So I just stopped using these paddles over here. If I wanted to manually shift, I actually use the shifter, put in manual mode on manually shift, which I've done throughout this video. But I have, you'll notice I really don't use the paddle shifters. That's one of the few things that never really got addressed with this car that really does kind of irk me. So guys, to kind of sum up the reliability and the maintenance, not a whole conversation, that's the list of stuff I've had to replace on the vehicle. Everyone have a different perception. I think the fact that I'm 170,000 miles and I'm still in my original motor and original transmission, those 2 items alone, I think is an indication of how reliable the car has been. Some people might disagree. They might say, hey, that's way too much stuff you have to replace from brand new, from 0 miles to 170,000 miles. I'm not sure why anyone would say that, but hey, that's open for interpretation, and that's the whole point of the video, is to give you guys an idea really how this car has held up for me over the 6+ years, however long it's been. Oh God, it's been more than that. We're 2022, 2015, so 7+ years. That's how this car has been holding up for me. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pull over up here, and we're actually going to go over kind of like how the interior has been holding up and how the exterior has been holding up, and give you guys a better idea of, well, how that looks. Alright guys, so I want to go over the interior. Now at 170,000 miles, I could say that there is some wear and tear here. The seat is a little on the droopy side on the front. The leather has stress marks. There is some pulling a little bit of the Acroterra, or I guess it's like a type of suede, to be honest with you. But overall, you know, as I mentioned in other videos, hey man, I'm 6'1", I'm well over 250, so I mean it's a lot of weight to sit on this car over all these years and all these miles. So the driver's seat does have the most abuse, but overall, as you can see here, I think it's holding up. The steering wheel doesn't show a crazy amount of wear and tear in my opinion. The overall interior is holding up. It's important for me to mention though that the dash, at least on the passenger side, actually does rattle more so in the winter. But otherwise everything's kind of, you know, staying intact, and I really don't have any complaints too much other than what I'm showing you guys here and what I'm mentioning here. A lot of the soft touch is holding up. It does change colors, like I gotta hit it with a cleaning solution, otherwise it has like this white coming through, which is quite annoying, but once I do that it's good. But I do want to report that aspect of the interior as well. Moving on to the rear seats of the car, or the back seats I should say, you know, there's not a whole lot to report here. Everything's been holding up really well. I don't have a ton of people back here, right? Some friends, some co-workers. Car does come equipped with rear heated seats, but overall I have really no complaints. Alright guys, let's talk about the exterior of the car. There's really two things I want to talk about because the whole car is pretty much fine, but really it's going to be the front end of the car. This really has nothing to do with Dodge. It's just me kind of giving you guys some information on the front of the vehicle, because that's where I always sustain so much damage. As you can see here, the headlight's kind of on the watery side, so obviously something's getting through. The other headlight is perfectly fine. You'll see here on this, it looks like a really dirty front end, but honestly those are all chips. So I clear brawled or 3M part of the hood, but not the front bumper, and that's what I really recommend that you do if you're gonna get this car. Get the whole front end done. You can see here I'm missing a fog light. So I mean, like I said guys, this is my daily driver. You know, she's beautiful, but she's not a beauty queen. And you know, this is what it's like owning a car. I think I'm gonna have one of the most realistic videos out there on YouTube for you guys to see what it's like to own this thing. I got a billion other videos. You want to check them out? I'll probably link some in the description as well to help you guys out if you're interested in one of the final and last Mopars that well, Hemi Mopars that Dodge is going to produce. So one other thing I want to talk about though is, and this is more of a manufacturer issue, is the wheels, especially the center caps. You know, you could see here that the clear coat is actually starting to, and it's been coming off. If you check on my other review videos, this has been happening for a while now, and that is unfortunate. Otherwise, I mean, the car needs to get paint corrected, but it's been, you know, the paint really does hold up pretty well. And I've had the car, excuse me, this car goes by. I've had the car paint corrected before, so it just needs it again. So I mean, that's kind of it on the exterior. Those are the two big things I want to talk about. Was the rims peeling, and the front end having, you know, chips and marks and stuff like that. Guys, thank you for watching my video. This is the end of the video. If you please go ahead and smash that like button. I do put a lot of time into these videos, especially my long-term review videos. I try to get as much information packed in the video for you guys to go ahead and watch and enjoy, and see if this car, whether it's the Challenger, the Charger, the Scat Pack, the Hemi, the Hellcat, is the right fit for you. Go ahead, comment below, tell me what you think. What do you want to see next? And if you want to see more videos like that, you know what to do. Subscribe, guys. Take it easy.